Best-selling biographer Walter Isaacson was given 2 years of exclusive access to shadow Elon Musk for his new book. Isaacson is now out with the book, named after the man himself. Elon Musk is the book. He joins me now. Walter, thanks very much for being here. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Maria.
On this
it's always
book.
Good to be with you.
Tell us what struck you most about spending all of that time with Elon Musk. Tell us about the book.
It's amazing to me the different things that he can maniacally focus on. And just this morning, the Falcon Heavy, his SpaceX rocket, is going to shoot a mission up to an asteroid. He's the only person who's been able to get astronauts from the U.S. to the International Space Station after we grounded the shuttle and after we quit trying to go to the moon. Once again, too, he's not only brought us into the era of electric vehicles, but done it with solar roofs and power packs to try to get sustainable energy. And then, on the other hand, he's somewhat unleashed, sometimes unhinged, when he's posting things after he bought Twitter. And so you see a very complex, interesting guy, and he just let me be up close with him all times, and I hope I show the good, the bad, and the ugly, the lessons we should learn, and maybe some cautionary lessons.
Walter, he's pushed back on the establishment throughout his career. Yeah. And you mentioned Twitter. He did that so strikingly with Twitter, exposing how we saw collusion between government agencies and Twitter to censor information. And you write that it goes back to when he was a kid, when he was in South Africa. He regularly was beaten by bullies. Is that where he gets this strength and confidence to constantly push back against the establishment?
Yeah, his number one rule is question every requirement, question every regulation. And when he was a kid, as you say, he was scrawny. He was really socially awkward. He didn't have friends, beaten up, and many things happened. First of all, his father didn't support him. His father told him he was a loser. And this almost caused an epic superhero complex that he does after reading the comic books, saying, okay, I'm going to prove I can save the world. But the main thing is he comes out of it with big missions to make us multiplanetary, to make us have sustainable energy, to make sure that our artificial intelligence and robots don't turn on us. And he does sort of defy the rules and regulations on the way, which at least, you know, we used to be a nation of risk takers, Maria, whether you came on the Mayflower or came from Europe or you came on the Rio, across the Rio Grande. And I think he feels that we're no longer as much of a nation of risk takers, which is why we have trouble getting things done sometimes.
And it's such a good point to make, Walter, the fact that we were this nation of innovators, and we've gone and lived through, just the two of us and others in our age group have lived through some serious innovations in our world just in the last 20 years. But I think it's really interesting to talk about artificial intelligence and see the pushback from Elon Musk on this. In your book, you write about this and the artificial intelligence issue. Musk was worried that the chat bots and the AI systems, especially in the hands of Microsoft and Google, could become politically indoctrinated. You write, he also feared that self-learning AI systems might turn hostile to the human species. Explain this, because you want to see innovation. You know Musk wants to see innovation, but he stops at a point and walks away because of the dangers that he sees with AI.
Well, not really, because he's now started an AI company and he's pursuing real-world artificial intelligence, not just large language models that can chat bot and maybe parrot certain political things, but real-world AI like self-driving cars and Optimus the robot that learn from video, learn from sound, as well as from language. When he was a kid, he read all those Isaac Asimov books about the rules of robots and how to make sure that they didn't harm humanity. So he was worried, as you said, Maria, when two big companies, Google and Microsoft, end up taking charge of the two biggest and most innovative AI companies. And so he called me and said, come to Austin. This is just a few months ago as I was finishing the book. He said, my next mission is for me to start an artificial intelligence company that'll be truth-seeking.
I love that, Walter. Real quick before you go, how would you characterize Elon Musk? Has your opinion of him changed after all of the study and reporting you've done these last 2 years?
We're not very good in this country either, Maria, at saying somebody, we like to say they're a hero or a villain. We like to demonize them or we like to canonize them. And we have trouble knowing, as Shakespeare tries to teach us, that people are molded out of faults. They're complex. There are times when Elon Musk is inspirational, times when he's absolutely brilliant on physics and on engineering, and there are times when he goes dark. And I think the book tries to show how that forms a cloth.
Amazing. All right, we will leave it there. Walter, have you decided on your next book?
Well, I think it's probably time to go back in the Wayback Machine, Maria. In other words, go back into history. But artificial intelligence someday, the progress of that, that's a great book, too.
Okay, Walter, we'll leave it there. Congratulations to you. So many important books. Walter Isaacson joining us.